Hello and welcome to Healthy Knitting. My name is Rosie, your host. Today is February 9th, 2016. You can find me on Ravelry as Lespetitslux. Yes, there's also a Healthy Knitting Ravelry group over there and also a healthyknitting.wordpress.com site so that you can use a reader to find me if you do not like to subscribe to YouTube. There's also Healthy Knitting on YouTube. This is take two. I just recorded a really long episode, and when I went over from, finish the import over to the projects, the whole thing just shut off, and I thought, oh, well, it's still going to be there. I can't find it. I know I've had that happen before, and I thought I could find my file somewhere, and I'm not finding it, so I'm re-recording, and here we go. Maybe I can do it a little bit more concisely this time. I'm not sure. I even have notes. I have a lot of notes because there's a lot of stuff going on. So it's actually a little bit chilly. Today is, I live in the upstate New York. Well, it's not upstate. If you live in New York City, they consider it upstate. But I live in New York, and we had a little bit of snow last night, this morning, just enough of a dusting. It's not super cold out, but it's cold in my house because I don't turn the heat on. I wear sweaters. And I had a sweater on for you that I finished, and now I've already put on more clothes, and I'll have to show it on next time. It's super cute, but we'll get there in a second. So I wanted to share with you, I'm going to try to be a little bit more organized here. I wrote out a template so that all I have to do is add to it, and I can kind of keep the same format all the time and try not to forget things, even though I did forget things when I stopped recording. Do I even have them on? I do. Okay. So you all know I have cats, and so there's going to be some cat antics, and some of it was pretty interesting, and some was actually pretty good, and some led me to having to do some certain things that I'll discuss in the podcast. So I've been making smoothies. This one today is banana, cucumber, and yellow pepper. Absolutely delicious. I just love it. One fruit and more vegetables works out best for me. What are you doing? The cats are being crazy. Sorry, I have fluff running all over the place, and so I'm a little bit itchy. I've got Angora pieces stuck in my eyelashes and up my nose from this, which we will discuss in a minute. So I found that when I was making the smoothies, I have a NutriBullet. The kittens, who, if you've watched me before, you know I have 4 kittens who are not going to be kittens pretty much longer. Pretty much April 1st, I'm giving them as their birthday, and so they will be a year old at that point. But they still act crazy, and they love people food. They always have. Everything I'm eating, they need to eat it. Well, they like the smoothies. I don't know why, but they do, and every time I make one, they jump up on me, and they're like, oh, can I have some? So I've been giving them smoothies. I don't think it hurts them any. None of the other people food I've given them has seemed to hurt them, but they do enjoy a smoothie. So, and yesterday morning, I woke up to the sound of the clink, 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 clink. And I was like, that sounds like my knitting needles. Oh my gosh, how could they even get in there? Because I made these bags to keep my knitting in on Sunday, and yesterday was Monday. Well, I don't know how he did it. Alphonse, the little orange one who likes knitting needles and yarn, he found them and he had them in his mouth, and he's like they do every morning. They just all pull. They're so funny. My bedroom is directly over there, and I have glass French doors that lead into this room, which is the living room. It's a very tiny house. And they're all just like line up, and they're like, hey, you gonna come out and play? So he's just got them in his mouth, and he's dangling them there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for not killing them, and thank you for finding them, because I had no idea where they were. I knew I had lost a pair somewhere and no clue. So those were found, and I did have some balls of yarn, and they were kind of like scattered around. I've seen worse. When the adult cats were kittens that I have now, they got into my yarn one day, and I got home, and I had a 2-story house at that time. Actually, it was like 3, but that other section was closed. They had yarn up the stairs, down the stairs, it was like a circular floor plan where the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room had 2 doors so you could go all the way around. It was a huge house. Oh my God, they had yarn all the way around from upstairs down. I mean, it was everywhere. I don't even know how I managed to clean all of that up without losing my mind, but it was everywhere. So the point, my PSA right now is I can't really leave yarn out because of Alphonse, and not because he wrecks it, because I don't care. If they wreck it, they wreck it. I mean, yeah, I'd rather not have them wreck it, but he likes to eat it, and he will just continue to chew and chew and chew, and it, you know, it's not a good scene. So I have actually pulled it. I had a throw blanket on my couch, and I had to actually stick it in. It's somewhere else now because it had tassels on it, and he ate one of the tassels, and that's just not good for their intestines. So things like tinsel and yarn, if your cat likes to eat them, dogs too especially, don't keep it around because the vet bills are high, their stomachs can't handle it, and it's not good for anybody. So that's my little PSA. What else? Well, I was wearing some different things than I am now. I was going to do a section on what I'm wearing, and right now I'm just not prepared with what I'm wearing under here. You've seen this before. Anyway, but I will tell you about this one. This is an Off the Needles project. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's called the Surprise Cowl. I think I am the second person to make this. It's new. 3 projects. I think me, the designer, and someone else. It is super cute. The Surprise Cowl by Estelle Desmet. I made mine with size 10 needles and classically lush yarn, and then I held a second yarn, 4 different kinds, because I was using up my scrap lace. I had 2 from Still Mill River Farms, that was cashmere, and a blue and a green. The gray color is a Knit Picks shadow or tonal or whatever, and then another one which was another green, which was Misty Alpaca. So there is some Mobius. There are color changes in here. I didn't care because it was going to be scrunched up and keep Mobying around, but it did call for 2 yarns held together, and so I just figured I'll add that cashmere in there. I'll use what scraps I have, and it just added a little bit of color to the gray. Now, if I really thought about it, the colors that after I've done this, that I like the best is the Knit Picks. The this one right here. This gray color I think looks nice over it. And also this is the, all right, so this is the Knit Picks. Wait. Okay. Sorry. This is the Knit Picks. This is Still Mill River cashmere. This is cashmere. Oh, do I have 2 blues? I don't even know. Maybe one of them isn't. I don't know what that is. This is cashmere, I think. And this is Misty Alpaca lace. Now, the cashmere makes it super soft. The Angora content, which is in the lush, is I think 50-50 wool, and Angora is really super lush. You can see the fuzz on it, I think. Not really, but there's fuzz flying everywhere. The pattern asks you to just cast on. Now, I cast on provisionally with a crochet hook, and I just think it was from the Lily Chin video that I showed last week that I learned how to actually do the crochet cast on even better. I think that's where I learned it from. I don't know. I'd always had a problem with it not coming off. It's supposed to just come off the needles when you undo the chain and have all of your working pieces of yarn right there. I've always felt that I had always noticed that I had to cut the chain off. I'm like, why is this not working? This should work, blah, blah, blah. And I got so frustrated with it. It's an easy cast on to do. I just couldn't get it to work the way it was supposed to. What I realized I was doing wrong was I wasn't continuing to make a chain off of the knitting needle and just taking that last loop and putting it on the knitting needle and using that as one of the pieces to start knitting from. And that's not what you're supposed to do, because if you don't do that and you just chain off like maybe 4 or 5 sections and then tie it so that it doesn't unravel while you're knitting on it, then the whole thing will unravel when you undo that, and it's perfect. So I did that, and then I also used the Kitchener bind off for this in garter, and I have to say it's fantastic. It's super easy. You do the same stitch on both sides instead of doing it the other way with when you do Kitchener for a sock, and you have to do one or the other. The join is here, and you really wouldn't know. Let me hold it up. This is the join between the gray and the green. So I thought it came out very nice. And it's Mobius. I didn't think that I was going to have enough fabric to even get my head through here, but I do. It's a little shorter than as described in the pattern. I think it called for 70 centimeters, and which is something around 35-ish, 36 inches, and I had just a little bit less. But this is very stretchy. It's obviously a cowl. So it worked out, and I figured I just kept going. And when you knit two strands of separate yarn together and then you don't like it and you have to rip out, it is a really big pain in the neck. So I knit one ball and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get enough yarn. I think I had like 9 inches instead of 12. I really wanted to have like close to 12. And then, so I just kept going and going because I figured if I needed to rip it out, I would just rip it out in a ball winder and take it out all together, because if you separate them, it's a pain in the neck. And if I had 2 balls, then I really couldn't rip it out at that time. And if I didn't like it, my other choice was to just make a cat blanket out of it, pick up the live edges, knit some rows, knit on the side, and do a garter stitch band around it and give it to the cats. It wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't a big investment. I've had this Lush yarn forever, and the cashmere scraps and the other scraps were just scraps. So it really is a scrappy project that I didn't really know what to do with. Now, when I first started knitting, I bought 10 balls of this Lush yarn, and I've had this in my stash forever. Lush yarn is not something that you should be making sweaters out of. It felts incredibly fast with any wear. I made a sweater out of it, and I think I wore it once, and not even for a day, and it felted under the armpits, which is not an attractive look, and too warm and not the right project for the yarn at all. But I was a brand new knitter, I didn't know. And then the first project I made was a little cable halter top. Now I can't wear halter tops because I do need to wear undergarments, and I don't have one that would work with that. What are you knocking over? Fabric. So I did give it away to someone who might so have those said undergarments. I do not, and I don't feel like buying special undergarments for a project for one shirt. So anyway, gave it away. When you are a new knitter, if you are considering changing yarns as called for, please look at yarn content. The content of the yarn that is called for in the project. If it is 100% wool, it will react differently than alpaca or silk or whatever. So you really want to keep that in mind. Also, the gauge of the yarn. So if it's worsted or DK or bulky, these things are going to make a really big difference if you start changing yarns around for a project that you're making other than the designated yarn in the pattern. There we go. So it's kind of nice to see what these other yarns will do. So you can always search on Ravelry for that particular type of yarn in a pattern and see, because alpaca is a little drapier, silk is drapier, wool has bounce where it can take a lot of a heavier project and not get weighted down and change its composition of the way it looks. So anyway, just some helpful tips for people who are just starting out. I've made zillions of mistakes, and it is okay. I've learned from all of them, and I continue to learn because I think it's a never-ending learning process, this knitting business. So what else did I finish? I'm going to click out of this now. This is the second time I'm doing this. I can't believe it is nowhere to be found. Anyway, the next project is the Nimbus jacket by Barocco Design Team. I'm sorry, this is really itchy. This is a cute little jacket. I had some difficulties, and my difficulties were that I thought I knew more than the designer, number one, and number two, that I didn't read the directions. So this is 9 balls of Barocco. No. Is it? Hold on. My goodness. Blackstone Tweed Chunky, which is a discontinued yarn, which I'm kind of sad to see that it's discontinued because I do like this yarn quite a lot. This is actually Blackstone Tweed, the other weight yarn, and I like it a lot. there are some, actually, the reason why it was out was because I have 2 holes to mend here. I have a pile of mending to do. And when I got done recording, I took off my other things and I just put this on because it's super warm and I wear it like a jacket. But I do have this on too because, like I said, my house is a little chilly. This is not a warm jacket for the temperature of my house right now. So, but this is so darn cute. I made it, the only mod that I made is that it is 2 inches longer than called for. I wasn't sure if I was going to have enough yarn to make it a lot longer, and it was made in pieces, so I couldn't really make a piece too long and then not have enough yarn to finish. And I wanted to make sure I had sleeves. I was actually debating last time we talked whether I was going to make the sleeves long sleeve or not, and I decided not to. I decided to keep it the way it was. I thought the pattern was really kind of spot on with the way it looked. I thought it was adorable. Blackstone tweed, this one anyway, stretched quite a lot. And I did block this, but I flat blocked it, which means that when I block things, I put them on my towel and I spray them with warm water and kookaburra spray in there. And I just get it saturated and then I kind of manipulate it. I barely have ever dunked anything except for lace projects and saturated them that way. I find that it takes too long to dry. It is not necessary, and it can totally, except for that, also that sweater that I dyed, that one totally changed shape. I mean, like the sleeves wound up growing about that much from here to here. So I didn't really think that I needed to do that. If I need to make this a little bit longer, I do think that it would work out, that I can block this out a little bit longer. But I'm just not even gonna bother right now. I think it's fine. It's super cute. You're going to see, I've already knit this back part and taken it out, and also put the collar on and taken it off in another video, and I'm going to insert that now. So I should have been talking about this project before I show it to you. It is the Nimbus jacket. That's funny, I'm just looking at the cat because she's cute, she's over here. And unfortunately I have to rip some stuff out, so I thought I'd show you before I rip, because the next time you see it, it should be completed the right way. So what I did was I added an extra row up here. You can pretty much see it, maybe. I did a short row, and what's happening when I put the jacket on is it's bumping up like a little bubble, like that. There's a little bit of extra fabric there. And I normally do that with patterns, but I wasn't thinking when I did this one, because this one doesn't have a scooped neck. It kind of had a flat, and I should have just left it alone. I'm not sure if that's the problem, or if I picked up the collar. I picked up 1 for 1 on the back, because usually I pick up 1 for 1 on a straight. Something's not right. The other thing was, I'm not sure if I did the collar exactly correct anyway. I did 2 extra stitches and was called for when I did the pickup. I thought I adjusted, but it's looking a little bit wonky on me. So that's the jacket so far. I don't like how this is not looking as represented in the pattern, so I'm not sure. And the other thing that I did, instead of, they wanted you to X amount of stitches on the needles. This is a free pattern on Barocco. And then you're supposed to keep increasing. I just attached it to the collar at that point instead of doing that and then attaching it. Not sure if that's causing a problem. I'm not exactly sure what, but the pattern was a little bit confusing on that part. This is a simple jacket. It should have been done like in no time flat. Big yarn, big needles, and boom, and it's not done. So that's getting ripped out today. And then, of course, last night I was like, all right, well, I'll just get the sleeves done so that I can get them blocking. I can get that done and then put it all on. What do? I get 1 sleeve done. Oh, and by the way, I did decide to do the sleeves as written in the pattern. I didn't even feel like fussing with it. I did have extra yarn. I had 5 balls of yarn left to make sleeves with, and I just didn't feel like it. And then what do I do? I have to rip this one out because I forgot to do a decrease on one side. So I started to go into another ball of yarn. I'm like, why? Because this one's 1 whole ball of yarn. That's the whole ball right there. I'm like, that's weird. Well, yeah, when you do not do a decrease, it's going to be bigger. So I have to rip this all back, probably all the way down to here. So it doesn't take long to knit. It's super fast, but I was a little tired, and then that's what happens when I forget when I'm tired and I'm not paying attention. The other thing I'm doing today is I am dyeing, and I should have probably grabbed the white yarn before I dyed it, but I've showed it on the podcast before. It is this. I spun it, a 3-ply, and I want to make socks out of it. So if you remember, I have some black dye that I dyed that sweater with, and I haven't exhausted it yet, and I didn't want to just pitch that out because it still has dye material in it. So I'm going to add some red to that and make like a dark, deep red kind of solid color, semi-solid color type of sock. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. I was thinking maybe I would like to do stripes, and then I thought, you know what? Not dealing with trying to figure all of that out. I know that when the stripe sock dyers make it, it's like you need all this length to wrap the yarn long, so you have long repeats so that it can stripe. And I was like, you know what? I don't even have the ability or gumption to do that. So I'm just gonna make like a little kettle dyed semi-solid type sock. The problem that I had with my sweater is that I didn't soak it well enough. So I'm going to soak this yarn for a couple of hours, and then I'm going to add it to the dye pot and then bring it to a simmer. So that's what I'm doing right now. The sock yarn is underwater. It's been underwater for probably 20 minutes. And so the next time I podcast, which will probably be Tuesday, and you're not seeing this, you're gonna see it all in one shot, so it won't matter to you. I should have some other things for you. Okay, welcome back. So the directions in the pattern, this is a free pattern, by the way, and I use size 10 needles. And I think I'd already told you I used 9 balls of yarn, so not a lot of bulky yarn, and it doesn't really look bulky on. I will show it to you next week. I'll have it on, but I'm not taking these things off again. I've already done this podcast. So the good thing when I ripped out was that I had already sewn the shoulders. Holy cow. Sewn the shoulders on, and where I had done my increase for that short row did not involve those. So I was thankfully able just to pick that out, rebind off, and then be done with that part. So the directions where I screwed up was that it said cast on a straight needle, X amount of stitches. And I, for some reason in my head, was like, oh, just pick up the stitches along the back. And I did. And then it was going, do this, increase here, add on stitches, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I'll just cast it on as I go down the thing. Why would I not sew it, like make it and then sew it on? That didn't make any sense to me. It doesn't work. You have to actually knit the collar separate and attach it later. And once you do, it is absolutely perfect. And I love this little collar. You're gonna see it in another project that I might be making soon. It just stands up nicely. It is super adorable. I highly recommend it. It's a free pattern, and you can adapt the sleeves to make it longer if you so choose. I think it just looked really nice this way. A nice spring jacket. Okay, that's done. Where's my notes? Hi, baby. Natalia's here. So those two things are off the needles. The two things, I'm not even going to show it now because I don't have enough time. The Viajange, I have not knit on last week at all, and I also did not knit on the Burnham Capelet, which is kind of, I don't know, I'm not really having a lot of fun thinking about knitting that. It was a bit of a pain in the neck with the yarn. I will probably work on it. But I'm getting distracted by the cute little projects that I keep finding on Ravelry. So let me talk to you about a couple of things that I might be making soon. So this yarn is Cascade Eco Cloud, and it's a nice neutral color. It's kind of spring-like if you want to wear it with some other accessories, and it's super soft. It's 70% baby undyed merino and I think 30% baby alpaca. It's a net type, or not net, a chain type ply. And I was going to make a little short sleeved, another one of those type of jackets for the spring. And then I'm kind of looking and I'm like, I don't have enough yarn. If I had swapped it out and done this in Nimbus, I probably could have done that with the amount of yarn that I had, I think. No, I probably would have been a little short. I can't remember now. Hi, baby. Can you hear her purring? She's got the loudest purr ever. And so I decided to look up what projects were made with 3 skeins. I love Ravelry. It is the most easiest thing in the world to do. What projects were made with 3 skeins of Eco Plus or Eco Cloud? Sorry, Eco Cloud. And this project came up. It's called the Kareen Caplet. It is a pay-for pattern. And I don't know what it is with me and the capes, but I've got this crazy desire to make and wear capes lately. So that came up, and then another cape came up that was in my queue that I already have the pattern for, and it's from early fall 2011 Vogue Knitting, and it's called the Tide Capelet by Yoko Hata. And someone made it in a neutral color, and I thought, wow, that's really pretty. And it has been in my queue for a while. I don't know which one I want to make. This one's cable-y and more complicated, or the other one, which is a pay-for pattern, which has just stocking knit and either reverse stocking knit or garter. I don't know which one. It's probably reverse stocking knit at that point, just for the zigzaggies on it. And it's not an expensive pattern, and it's super cute. And again, it has this really nice way that you could stand up the collar. You roll it a bit, and it has a stand-up collar like that one, or you can wear it a little bit more loose. So I don't know. I'm debating, and I kind of make things snap decisions sometimes. So, honey, I know. So I'm just not sure. So the other thing, stop, baby. The other thing that I might be making this week is called the Mixed Wave Mitts by Sybil R. I have a three colors of Tosh Merino Light, and I made a color affection with those. And I think those colors would look nice with this. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I just thought they were kind of cute and garter stitchy and just adorable. Something that would be fun. And then the other thing that I want to make is, well, I have the book here. I got the book from the library. Love the library. It's called The Veil Stitch Cowl by Hannah Wallace. And this is from the Nora Lace book that I took out from the library. And I have just about a full skein of this color right here, and I thought that would look nice in that pattern, and that just might be another quick fast off the needles project to make when I don't feel like thinking. And I love to watch the colors go. You know, that was all green, that was fine. This had a little color interest because of the additional yarn in it. But, you know, I love working with Noro. It's pretty. And then the other thing that I want to make is that sweater, the sleeves come up to here. But I thought it would be kind of cute to make these, which is called the Once Upon a Time. Let me just make it bigger. Loudy 2012 is the designer name, and it's called Once Upon a Time. It's a free pattern. 3 of those skeins, which is exactly what I have left, would make these cute little fingerless mitts. And I love fingerless mitts. I wear them all the time. And since these are a little bit longer, it might look nice with that jacket, which has the short sleeves. If, you know, you go out in the morning and it's colder, it's nice during the day, and then you go home at night and it's colder. You always need that kind of the extra little stuff on, at least where I live, because the temperature is not the same throughout the day. It can vary by 30 to 40 degrees sometimes. So anyway, that is kind of like what's going on there. Sorry, I was so much more organized before. I'm probably forgetting things. Oh, did I tell you what was in my cup today? I did. I think I did. Cucumber, yellow peppers, and bananas. Totally delicious. I'm just looking. So, I did not spin, but remember I dyed that sweater and I had the leftover dye in the pot. Well, I added some red to it and I dyed up the cheviot that I had spun. It's not this rust. It's more like a burgundy. wonder if it's red's so hard to come out. It's more like a burgundy. It's burgundy and black. So there was black and red. And what I really liked, I don't know, have any of you seen the color from Tasha Merino Light called Tarte? It's kind of like red and black together. And they're separate and together. And it kind of came out like that. I was really, really happy because it seems like some of the fiber actually took the dye differently. Now, it's not, oh my God, look at all the veg matter. I spun this, it's a 3-ply, 3 separate, not chain ply, but 3 separate plies. And I bought it at Rhinebeck a couple of years ago. Where's my tag? This, it's 8 ounces. And immediately got home and just spun it up. And it's not the softest yarn in the world. I don't even think that it's all that terrifically balanced. It's kind of crazy. When it was wet, it was very curly. I didn't weight it at all when I let it dry. So it did smooth out a little bit. I have no idea what will happen knitting socks. I have 8 ounces though, which is a lot. I'm just not sure what I want to make with it. And I didn't care that I had the veg matter in there when I spun it. I figured I would just pull it out when I knit it. It would be faster spinning that way. And when you come across a little piece here and there when you're knitting, it's not too difficult to pull it out. I'm used to Noro anyway. I don't mind the veg matter so much, really. So I just don't know. I probably have enough here to make a pair of socks and to make something different. 8 ounces is a lot though, right? It's a lot of fingering weight yarn. I am going to do a gauge swatch because I don't know what size, like it's not coming from a mill for me to say it's light fingering or it's fingering. I don't know what size needles I'm going to need. And I do want to make some of those really pretty cable-y socks from Cookie A, and I don't want to have to rip them out. So I will do a little bit of a gauge swatch, which would just mean like doing a cuff and doing some plain stitches for a little bit on some different size sock needles. So that is that. I'm really pleased with it. I still have a little bit of red dye left in there. I wish that my dye pot didn't have so much water in there. It's very big because I have some roving that I dyed, and I tried to do a gradient dye on it, and it really can't see it that well, but I think if I just put it in there, it might work out okay. But I don't want to really cook that roving, or top, whatever it is. I think it's Blue Face Luster. I don't even know anymore. I don't know, it's somewhere. So I still have to deal with that, but I don't have time to do it today. Probably over the weekend, it will just sit there again. So let's see what else I wanted to talk to you about. I made some bags this weekend. I had a lot of fun doing that. I have a lot of fabric. I finally brought it upstairs and cleaned up the basement a little bit and set up the fiber that I want to dye and the fiber that is ready to go. I have fiber upstairs in my closet that's all different stuff, but the stuff downstairs is all like big lots of things, like for big projects. So that got done, which was needed to happen because it's been a little disaster here. So anyway, I brought up all my fabric and took out my sewing machine. Had some learning curves. The sewing machine was a little crazy at first, but I finally got used to it and found out some things about my machine that I didn't know before, which is really good. So we got to work out our kinks, and that was nice. So I made this little bag, and this is just 3 different pieces of fabric: the main fabric, the top piece, and the lining. And then I made the fabric ties. I had a little bit of this fabric left over to do. So I like the drawstring bag because, number one, I don't want to deal with learning how to put zippers in, and number 2, zippers can catch on yarn, and this works nicely to keep cats out of. They're not opening these up to get in there. And the reason why I'm making bags right now is 2 reasons. I want to use up the fabric, and number 2 really is number 1, the most important. Alphonse is a needle eater and yarn eater, and I need to keep him away from that. So what's living in here is the Once Upon a Time mitts. I decided to print that pattern out and just stick it in here so that it was all done. Now I just need to get the needles out and throw that in there, and that can be a project in the making. This is another bag I made, which is a little bit bigger, as you can see. A couple of different fabrics in here. I did the same color on top on both sides because I thought it was pretty and I had it. And then I used brown on the interior and this pretty yellow fabric over here, and the brown was the ties because I didn't have any more left of anything else. This is a huge bag. The only reason why it's this big is because I had this much fabric and I just wanted to use it all. I probably would not make another bag this big. This is a big enough bag to be a blanket bag. I don't even know how big it is, but it's big. I have the Burnham capelet in here. That's in here, and also the Viajanche is in here, and it's in this little bag. Now, when I first started this bag, I used the Craftsy class, the free Craftsy class on making bags, and it was pretty simple, and I liked it a lot. I don't even remember now how you make it, but I kind of remembered that the bag pattern that I got to make these, which was basically this one, and then I just changed the sizing, seemed a little bit easier, and I'm going to tell you what that place is right now. That is from In Color Order, and it's called the Lime Drawstring Bag Tutorial. It is a free pattern on the internet, and it's just incolororder.com. If you want a different size and you cannot do the math to figure out how much your seam allowances and measurements would be, you can certainly buy other pattern sizes that she has available online. I just did the math myself because I don't mind doing the math myself. Once I know how a project works, then I can transition it. So I intend to make quite a few more bags because I have quite a few more pieces of fabric, and I also found, I'm not going to make just these kind of bags, but I found this really cute website called, I found that this morning, allpeoplequilt.com, allpeoplequilt.com, All People Quilt. And when you go on here, there is a whole section for gifts, bags, free patterns galore, and of course quilting patterns, which I want to use up my scraps first before I even intentionally go buy any more fabric for anything, period. I just feel like I have a lot of stuff going on right now and I need to use it or find a new home for it or something. I just don't want to have things because I have them. It's kind of getting a little bit messy around here. So that is my intention with that. I'm going to make some bags. I'm going to look at the kind of fabrics I have, and different size bags for different size projects I think would be very helpful for me, so I can keep Alphonse in the clear so that he's not in the doghouse and he's not sick. I wanted to share something else here. Oh, I told you last week, see these cute little earrings? I don't have the backings on so I can actually take them off. Those little plastic things that go on are really hard for me to get off. So this is a present from Kay Ming, one of my friends in my knit group, who is extremely talented, and you've seen much of her jewelry on the show before because I wear her jewelry a lot. I have another friend, Lorraine, who makes jewelry as well, and you've seen her things. And I'll just tell you a little bit more about Kay Ming's. We were at Sheep and Wool together, and I showed you this before. This is one of the little patterns the cards that I got, and I was inspired completely by the lady who made these, and her name is not on here. It's in the other podcast. I loved her work, and I bought quite a few. Actually, it's pretty much what I bought was her artwork. I didn't really buy anything. I bought a couple things of fiber, but that was it, artwork. And if you would notice, these were inspired by that because we bought them. We were walking around together and I was like, look what I just bought, oh my God. And so for my birthday, which is in December, little swirly circles. Pretty cool, huh? Caiming Designs. CAIMING designs.com, I think is her website. Ouch. Okay. So I'm totally out of order now of what I was talking about. Other things that I like. I wanted to tell you about another podcast that I found, which you probably are already watching if you're watching me, because they're extremely popular already and they're brand new. Their name is the Naughty Nitwits. Holy cow, they are so funny. Now, I don't have a lot of time to go back and listen to podcasts from the beginning. I found some new ones that I've liked, and I just, it's a lot to go back to the beginning. And why I didn't know of them before, I've got no idea. Probably because I was out of the realm for quite a while and not watching any podcasts, not hearing about anything exciting and new. So, but these guys are really funny. If you like funny, I would definitely check them out. Naughty Nitwits. They're hysterical, and I don't know. They kept me entertained while I was knitting. So I wanted to share that. What else did I want to share? So many things that I talked about before and I didn't talk about. I found another podcast. I do like to read books. I'm a mystery reader. I'm not a sci-fi or fantasy reader, so there are a couple podcasts that I do watch, and those are the kind of books that they like. So I kind of just turn that part off because I'm never inspired. I've read a few. Piers Anthony probably was my most favorite fantasy type writer, and he wrote A Tangled Web and The Pale Horse, or it was a whole series that I really liked, but I'm really not into a lot of that genre at all. So it doesn't appeal to me. I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I'm not really into that. Harry Potter's probably the closest thing to being out there that I liked. I didn't even really like The Hobbit or any of that. Just not exciting to me. But anyway, like I said, I like mysteries. So I do read a lot of mysteries. And this one, speaking of Harry Potter, is, and I forgot her name again last time too, and I've totally spacing it again now. But this is her pen name, Robert Galbraith, and it's called The Cuckoo's Calling. And so the podcast that I will find next time and tell you about is the one that I actually got the recommendation for this book. And actually I read the first couple of chapters and I like it quite a lot. I find that the writing is better than the brief time that I tried to read Harry Potter. I didn't like reading it at all. The movies are spectacular and I loved them, and I usually love to read a book, and then when I watch the movie, I'm completely disappointed by the movie. It has happened almost every single time. So I tend, if I read a book, I don't really want to watch the movie at all. So anyway, I will let you know how this book is. I will just give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I will not tell you anything because I don't know about you, but I don't like to know the end of the story. I don't even like to know the middle of the story. I don't even watch the upcomings if I'm watching a series. Like, for instance, Project Runway Junior. If you haven't had a chance to see that, please go to Project Runway Junior and look for it. I think it's with I don't know. You can watch it online, put it that way. You can watch it online for free. And those kids are so darn creative, and I liked it much better than the regular Project Runway because the drama was not there. The crazy weirdness drama. They were just super talented, and I do like sewing. And let me tell you, when I was sewing these bags going, what the heck? I'm even more amazed at what these people turn out under pressure with no pattern. I mean, they're making this stuff themselves. It's pretty incredible. So anyway, whenever I'm watching a series and the show's over and they're telling you about what's coming up next, I immediately turn it off because I don't want to know. I don't even want to be surprised or not be surprised at all. So I never like to know the end of the story first. So I will not give away what happens in this book. But so far, the first 2 chapters, the writing is really well done. So thumbs up for that. What else do I want to talk to you about? Okay, well, I guess this is going to be a lot shorter than the first one, which is probably good. Probably a good thing, guys. So my healthy tip this week, I have a couple ways that I'm going to do this now. I'm going to separate it from a tip for your physicalness, things that you can do, things for your physical body, and then for your mental part of your healthiness. And as I kind of talked to you about last time, your mental health, how you think about things, how your mood and everything, sorry, that's fuzz, really has a lot to do with everything that's going on in your life, your physical things, what's happening to you, what's going on. So we're going to do the physical first. And I've been buying vegetables and freezing them. So I've talked to you about how to freeze other things like fruit, little strawberries. You stick them on parchment paper or on something that's not where it's not going to freeze to, and you can freeze them whole. And then once they're frozen, you can put them in a separate container so that they can all sit on top of each other and not be frozen. You can pick them out. Well, it's the same thing with fruits and vegetables. I have been cutting up the peppers and laying them in between paper and then freezing them so they're all frozen. And then I was cutting up cucumbers, and now I'm kind of realizing that I'm not going to take them out of the freezer and put them directly into my smoothies, because what's happening is the NutriBullet is not made for frozen stuff, and it's just like gunking up, and I don't want to break my NutriBullet. So I'm going to take the vegetables out at night and put them in the refrigerator so that by the time in the morning comes, they'll be able to be blended, and I don't have to eat a freezing cold drink in the winter, which is helpful because I don't need to get any more cold. It's not that I'm cold. I'm actually, my body temperature is normal again, finally, thank goodness. But, I don't typically like to eat ice cream in the winter. I like to eat it in the summer. So the other thing I was going to say, the cucumbers, instead of cutting those up now, I'm just peeling them and I'm sticking them whole, because a whole cucumber can go into my drink. And then cantaloupe, I bought some cantaloupe, which tastes really delicious as the fruit part of your drink. Today's banana, but it's because I had a banana yesterday. I also have a pineapple that I cut up as well in spears. And so if you think about cutting up a chunk enough that you're going to need for your drink is pretty much what you want to do, because you want to leave it frozen as long as possible so that it's not in your refrigerator too long, and then you don't get to it and then you got to throw it out or whatever. But anyway, did I tell you about the cats eating the smoothies? I told you about it before, but now I can't remember if I told you. If I have told you, I apologize. But the cats are going crazy, the kittens, crazy over my smoothies. I make them and they're jumping up on my legs, and so I've been giving that to them, and they've been enjoying it. Nobody's getting sick, so I guess they want some vegetables too. So the whole thing with the vegetables now, if you have a sweet tooth and you want to consider cutting back your sweet tooth, an easy way to do that is to gradually take the sugar out of your diet. So in my smoothies, I don't like them sweet at all. And if I put more fruit than vegetables, I think they taste horrid, to the much where I can't even drink them. I just don't like it. So my smoothies are usually never the same twice. But now, because I've bought a bunch of vegetables and I have them in the freezer, I can actually make the same thing if I wanted to. My favorite thing right now is cantaloupe, yellow and orange peppers, and cucumbers, and a little greens in there. It's usually lettuce, like the little spring organic lettuce mixes. Oh my God, those are so good. And people look at them and go, oh God, what are you drinking? And I'm like, you have no idea. It is so delicious. So, and they're bright and they're cheery. And so give that a shot. See if you like that. And then just make sure you take it out of the freezer for the night before so that you're all ready to go. So what I was talking about was if you like sweet and you want to cut back, you can always do the proportions. So a little more fruit to begin with, and then vegetables, and then each couple of days that you're making them, you can cut back and add more of the other. So a little bit less fruit, a little more vegetables, a little less fruit, a little more vegetables. And then before you know it, you're eating something has a lot less sugar in it, which is mostly vegetables. And there's a lot of sugar in fruit. But the good thing about the NutriBullet is that you're not just drinking the juice, you're actually drinking all the fibrous materials and everything. So there's a lot of extra stuff in there. Mental. So I wanted to talk about not being so hard on yourself. Love where you're at and love what's going on. I made a lot of mistakes in my knitting this week and I didn't beat up on myself. I just ripped it out and started over. And that's kind of how we have to be with things. If you don't like where you're at right now, say your physical body, or you have some things that are not going well with you, don't focus on those things. Focus on something else if you can't even take your mind off of that. But keep your focus on, I'm okay. Everything's fine where I'm at. Everything always works out. And moving forward, this is happening, so you're just kind of not beating up and saying, I don't like my thighs. I don't like the way these clothes fit on me. I don't like this. I don't like that. It just keeps you where you're at, and it doesn't actually change anything. And so we were talking about last week how my focus this year is my mood. I want to stay in a good mood no matter what. And it can be challenging because, things can get thrown at us and you're like, wow, where did that come from? That wasn't really what I expected, or that wasn't what I was looking for, or that person was mean, or I can't believe I have to rip out my knitting. How come I didn't realize that? These things happen, but you have to just kind of like go with the flow and not get hung up on anything. And the less you get hung up on stuff, the less all that stuff is going to happen. It's a true story. So anyway, this is actually going to be a shorter episode than before. Thank goodness. So I hope this works out, that it goes through, because I don't have a lot of time left now. Today's my free day. Tuesdays is my free day. And I got a lot more stuff I need to do today. So thank you for watching. And next week I'll have on the Nimbus jacket, and it will be really cute, and maybe it will be warmer out. I don't know. I think we're supposed to get snow next week, but it's been a beautiful winter here. We have not gotten much snow. It did a little bit of a flurry last night. Makes everything look pretty, but it's not sticking around, which is good. I like that. Anyway, I'm had enough. I hope I will have some cute projects to show for you next week, and maybe some progress on the two that have been sitting on the needles for a while. All right, thank you.